some of the key things that the purchasing department or IT manager or audiovisual systems manager should be thinking about when they're making purchases for their company's AV systems. These key things would be what are the functionality of the system that is required. So what are the needs and requirements? And those are two separate things, right? You have a list of needs. These are absolutely what we need for the system to do and how to function. And then there may be some wants, maybe some other things that are optional. And those are important to define. And maybe as an example, a video conferencing system, and you're thinking about how big the room is and how the microphone needs to pick up people in the back of the room. Those are some of the things that maybe needs. And wants might be, the speakers we may want mounted in the ceiling versus, coming from a sound bar below the TV. And that might be a little bit more expensive, and eventually maybe be determined that's out of the budget and not necessarily needed. So those are some examples of defining some of the needs and wants of an AV system. Other things are determining how the users are going to use these rooms and these audiovisual spaces. We like to call it audiovisual experiences, right? So, a user or, a group of users may be fairly technical, maybe coming from an IT company or a technology company, or they may be less technical, in general. And, the manager who's managing these users wants to kind of understand the technical ability of the group. And that may vary between divisions and departments within the same company. As an example, one customer may have, the IT team really likes high-end audiovisual. It's a little more technical to use. They know how to set it up versus maybe another office in a different location where they just have sales guys and they want it to just be user-friendly, very basic, come in and, just press a button that says start and it just works the way they want it to every time. So those are some of the things to consider as well. Obviously, budget is a common, thing to think about. Sometimes it's a constraint. There's a lot of different ways to build out different conferencing systems. Today, video conferencing systems can be modular. You have these soft codec systems like Zoom rooms, and they have peripheral devices that it can be built a million different ways, right? You have different types of cameras that plug in USB, different types of, displays on the wall. Maybe you want a single display or a dual display. The way you're sharing can be done through, the application, or it could be done locally with an HDMI cable that comes up out of the conference room table. Those are some examples of, how to configure, conference rooms differently. And those things are assessed during the needs and the wants. And, maybe a company has a preference of the different, system that they're using. And Infinite Audiovisual has the experience to be able to make these recommendations and help a customer define what are their needs and their wants, and also provide recommendations based on our experiences with a lot of different technologies that are out there. We're currently using Logitech systems, Neat sound bars. We're a Crestron and Extron certified, designer reseller, and we can produce, custom GUI interfaces for touchscreens, so that, you walk in and you've got a button that drops the projector out of the ceiling on a touchscreen. You've got, a button that starts the Zoom meeting. Room schedulers are another thing that's been integrated into, conferencing systems in conference rooms lately. And we're doing this commonly where, you have applications that connect to calendars, and you're able to schedule conference rooms, in the office. And then you have a small display, touchscreen, maybe digital signage on the outside of the room that indicates whether the room is available or if it's occupied. And you can also look at that and see the schedule a lot of times on those, depending on the different system and how it's configured. So AV systems are very custom and configurable, or they can be very simple and easy to use. And it really depends on what the customer is looking for. So those are some things to keep in mind there. Another thing to keep in mind is serviceability. So, our team installs plug and play systems that are really easy to service, and they can be pretty simple, right? There's a few things that need to be looked at if the room isn't working correctly. Or we've built out conference rooms that are a lot more complex, and you have, maybe a large boardroom or a training room or an all hands space that has many different components that are configured with custom configurations, custom DSP settings, and those ones are a little more complex. And in order to service those rooms, we recommend that the customer's staff is trained, and they are given some training on how to troubleshoot the system, how to set it up for meetings, and what to do and what not to do, to make sure that their systems are working properly. One other thing to mention here is that Infinite Audiovisual provides regular maintenance services for audiovisual systems, and our customers will frequently work with us to design and build their standards, and then we will install new conference room systems or retrofit existing conference room systems. And then we will regularly come in for regular maintenance. And, since audiovisual spaces like conference rooms are very high touch, you will find that they're modified, and, cables are unplugged, and things are moved out of alignment, and they need to be readjusted. So what our team will do for a lot of our customers is perform regular maintenance sweeps, is what we'll call them, and we'll come in either after hours or during low traffic hours, of the office day, and we'll come in and clean up the cabling, do some cable management. We'll wipe the touch screens down with the cloths that are appropriate for that, so there's no damage. And one thing we also mentioned in is usually the case is that the cleaning people in these offices usually are not going to touch the technology. So it's just something that needs to be cleaned by a professional company like Infinite Audiovisual.